How does this achievement compare to others in your managerial career to date?
I think it's difficult to single out any one. I think they've all, for their own reasons, have been fantastic. This one probably meant a lot, not just for me, because it's another milestone moving forward. I think it's for the fans. I mean, Bromsgrove is probably the biggest fan club town that I've managed. They've been starved of any success for a number of years. I think it's 9 years since they were last in this level. And I think the fan base, albeit sort of down to sort of 400 or 500 from the days of 1,000, are fans that have been there for sort of 15, 20 years. So I think success at any club is great, but I think when it's been a big club and it's been starved of it, I think to relive it, the scenes on the last day when everybody went on the pitch, they said that they haven't had that kind of scene for a long time. So I got a lot of personal pleasure out of seeing a lot of the fans who sort of support week in, week out, pay their money, getting a lot of pleasure from it. But from a personal point of view, from a side, we had I'm not making excuses, I think we had a difficult year, probably the worst year I've had for injuries. And we're not talking short-term injuries, we're talking long-term breaks and hamstring injuries that sort of took sort of 10, 12 weeks to heal. And I think through all that, the players, we always believed that we had a chance of getting promotion. And I think that to get into the playoffs was a major achievement in the end. And I think when we got there, I think what was great was the character that was shown by a team that finished second, which often doesn't happen. The team that finishes the highest often doesn't make it. Is to go and win the 2 games on very, very tight games. Both games were very difficult, the semi-final and the final.
Okay. Rod, you demonstrated great resolve in what was for most teams at the top a rollercoaster season. Did you ever waver in your belief that you could get Bromsgrove Rovers out of this division?
No, I mean, my answer to that is I always believed that we had, I think you and I have mentioned it before, we've always had this fan base that gives you a goal. I think it was the biggest crowd in the league. I think that they've been very supportive, but I never wavered. No, I would have been absolutely gutted, I think, if we hadn't made it, because I think that in terms of squads, Brackley earned their right to win it for consistency, and I think that over the season, I look at the players, player for player, and I'm not talking about individual games. I think we had, on our day, one of the best squads in the league. Not necessarily all playing at the same time, but the mixture of experience, I think, in the end, experience over youth, probably stood us in good stead in the end. I think it was the 3 or 4 senior players, and I'm talking about players above 35. Probably had been there, done it, and I think they got through a lot of the side at the tail end, you know.
Okay. Rod, the playoffs final substitution of Gary Hay, who demonstrated his true quality during the match with Jermaine Clough, proved to be ultimately so decisive. Did you have any hesitation in taking that gamble in such an important game?
No, I think as a manager, you don't look at it like that. I think you look at the game as a whole. I think any manager looks at the game as a whole, and
I'm just thinking that Hay was a key player for you at the same time, wasn't it?
Massive player. I made the decision because at the time we had a lot of the ball and we had good chances early on, as certainly Gary Hay in particular. But Gary Hay hadn't been playing a lot of 90-minute football leading into that game with his club, Kidderminster Harriers. He did a lot of substitution games. Take off Nathan Laney or did I take off Gary Hay? Gary Hay would give you more mobility than probably Nathan did, but you always feel with Nathan, as he did in previous games, is that he unlucky not to start. Had a little reason to go on, and I think every manager thinks that when teams start to tire a little bit, defenders start to tire. If you've got somebody up there that can maybe knock somebody about a little bit, it might make it happen. I didn't know, obviously, Jermaine was going to get a goal, and the winning goal. It
proved to be an inspired substitution, didn't it, really?
I think what it did do is, I think you were at the game, the first 5 minutes he was on, he was woeful. And I thought, I've made a boob here. But as the game went on, he did get stronger. He did look more of a handful. And he got that all-important goal in the end that mattered.
Okay. You're now among the big hitters, so to speak, regards wage structure, with the likes of Kings Lynn and Hemel already flexing their financial muscle. Do you think, paradoxically, this might work in your favour regards lower expectations and being a dangerous opponent if underestimated? So these things can kind of work in your favour, really, can't you?
Yeah, they can.
After being the team that everybody's looking at, it's going to be the other way around?
I think we've got to hope that's the case, really, because we're not in the big hitting league with regards to money.
And your fans are aware of that, which is important, isn't it? They're intelligent.
I think they are, but the expectations at the club are still probably very high.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think we've got players that I think value for money were probably better than the league that we were in. Not them all necessarily, but quite a few of them. And I'm hoping that those players will flourish, and I suppose certainly the lads I got from Redditch, the young lads who Sam and Chris Cottrell, Sam also, who I think can develop in a higher standard, which we never really saw the best of in the spell they had with us. So, although I brought 4 new players to the club, or 4 players back to the club, whatever way you look at it, to strengthen what we've got, I do think that there's room for improvement on certain other ones. But you know, the cliche term is that as a club, the worst thing that could happen to Bromsgrove Rovers is that we're struggling through the season and we end up fighting a battle to stay in it. You know, I would like to have had the finances to be able to go and have a right pop at it, because that's just my passion as well to move forward. But I think we'll still progress. We will progress from where we finished. Whether or not that progress it takes us to halfway up the league, or whether it takes us to lower down, I don't know. But to answer your original question, yeah, I'd like to think that because we're the new kids on the block, a lot of teams will think that it might be a rollover situation, and hopefully we'll certainly match them in certain areas. I think the quality will come sort of Christmas time, where I think at Christmas time the depth of squad, the quality of players when the pitches get heavier will start to become more apparent, I think, and you've got past that period where, you know, everybody's hungry at the start of the season. I think that will find out teams, and if we're not up to expectations at that point, that's where we might struggle a little bit.
Okay.